the completing part of what they started yesterday. So please invite everyone, say to your friends, your family members, your friends, your colleagues at work, that the show is back on their screens, back on their phones, on their computers, and on their big TV screens. And we're going to be talking about, of course, they talked about carbs yesterday. So today is the completing part two. They're having part two today. So please call everyone and say to them that we're streaming on YouTube as well, just in case they want to join on YouTube, they can join with us. And if it's your first time on YouTube, please do click on the subscribe button and also the notification bell. By the way, this show is proudly brought to you by Salad Master. And without wasting time, what I want to do now is hand us over to the capable hands of Dr. Dolly and, of course, the dietitian who we have in the studio now. Hi, guys. How are you doing this evening?
Yes, we're fine. Good evening, Marvel.
Good evening, Marvel.
Okay. So
I'm going to hand it to you guys now.
All right. Thank you so much. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to today's program. Another lovely time we are going to have in our program today, popularly known as your billion-dollar body. Like we always say all the time, this is the body that drives you through life. Without this body, you cannot do anything. This body should be taken care of. It is said to be priceless. And we are here today in bringing you another topic on how we should treat this body right. Don't forget that I am your host, Dr. Dolly Mokage, and with me here is...
So I remain Folashade, the dietitian.
Yes. And yesterday, our topic, we started on the topic of the dangers of carbs or dangers of carbohydrates to the body. Now, let's do a little recap of what we did yesterday. We talked about carbohydrate, what it was, and we said that carbohydrate is basically a very essential part of the diet, and it is made up of starch, sugar, and fiber. This is basically what it is. And yesterday we went into details, giving you examples of the starchy foods that we have, the fibrous carbohydrates that we have, and then the sugary kind of carbohydrates. And we went ahead to tell you that carbohydrates can never, ever be eliminated from our diet if we actually want to have a healthy lifestyle. Now, the only problem we have of carbohydrate is when you eat it too much, or when you are eating more of the refined carbohydrates. Now, what is a refined carbohydrate? Refined carbohydrates are the carbohydrates which contains the starch, sugar, and fiber originally. Then when it is now taken to the factory, they are now being processed. And in the process, the fibrous part of the food is destroyed together with some of the minerals and vitamins that it contains. Now, this type of starch, it contains the starchy part, which will give you the energy. And without the fibrous part of the carbohydrate being attached to it, because fiber, like we pointed out yesterday, makes you full. It gives you that satiety feeling that, oh, there's food in my tummy, so I don't go looking for more food. Now, when it is being taken away, what happens is that you consume more starch than you would have originally done if the food was still whole. So that was basically what we discussed yesterday. And then we looked at also the health hazards of consuming too much of these refined carbs. What were they? Example is we did the diabetes, because why? When you eat the whole carbohydrate, the way it is in nature, where it contains the three basic things that I mentioned earlier, that being the starchy component, the sugary component, and the fibrous component. Now, when the fiber is being removed from it, what happens is that you now have more craving for more food, because fiber, like we know, it aids the digestion. When it goes through the system, it makes the digestion of carbohydrates to take much longer and much longer. Now, what it does is that it releases the sugar from the carbohydrate food you ate in a slow and steady manner. But when this fiber is being taken away, what happens is that the starchy part is digested pretty fast. And when it does, what happens to the blood sugar is that it now increases in a tremendous amount in the blood vessels to a very big amount. And then, because there's nothing to balance out the digestion, it also crashes. So that's it's not good. And then at the point where you have the very elevated blood sugar in your bloodstream, now that is everybody knows that if this happens for a consistently for a long amount of time, it predisposes the person to diabetes type 2. This is just one of it. Another one of eating too much carb is that it gives you arthritis. Because why? When you are now eating too much and you have given the bone too much mass in terms of fats, body fats to carry, the bone tends to react in some ways, and arthritis is one of the symptoms it gives. Another one is that blood cholesterol also increases. That's what happens when you actually have too much bad carbs in your system. So what we ended up with yesterday was that it is good for you to have carbs, but you should have it in moderation. So that brings us to today's topic, because today we want to go into details. What is carbs? What is this? We want to go into details because for you to eat healthy, you need to be smart with your carbs. How do you take it in? How do you eat it? For how long do you take it? That is what we are here to do today. Now, that brings me to what I have today. That's how do we take carbs if we say that it is good? Fine. So we're going to tell you how to do what we call effective low carb diet. And what is it all about? An effective low carb diet is one which maintains most of the time a healthy glucose level in the bloodstream. So with that, I'll let our dietitian in the house, because she's a major player in this, to take us through.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for the recap. Welcome viewers once again. I remember that yesterday we even went a bit further to help them understand the importance of investing in nutrition. Really.
That's right.
That was when we were talking about the fact that if you don't invest, you say you don't have time for healthy meal preparations and all that. At the end of the day, you have to find time to take care of whatever
yourself when you are sick.
Yes, and so when we talk about going into low carb diet, it's important that we also understand, like we said yesterday, it's not that carbs are bad, totally bad. Your body needs it. They are one of the major macronutrients in the body. But the problem is that many times we eat more than what our body needs. And so now we want to ensure that you are taking in the right amount and the right type of carbs. And that's where we can, we talked about the sugars, the starchy carb, and then the fiber. And so in going into a low carb diet, it's important to also know that as much as you're trying to reduce the amount of carbs you're taking in, it's not for you to starve, right?
No,
you need to replace with the ones that will make you feel full. And we already mentioned, like Dr. Dolly said, that the fibers have more filling. And so it's about adding more fiber into the diet. So if you have, for example, you want to take rice, I think I even mentioned this yesterday, as much as you're not, so portion control is very important here. Exactly. So as the rice is going to be in a small size while you're adding more vegetables. Mm-hmm. You can add your leafy vegetables. I mentioned carrot yesterday. Yes. I mentioned cucumber is also what's it called? It's also a vegetable and it's also high in fiber. And so it's about looking for ways to bring in the foods that are high in fiber. That's so that they can keep you full while reducing the starchy food, so that you don't overdo or eat more than what your body needs to take. And so this is very important. And one way to do it is, I like to say that making your food colorful. Yes. So if you look at those fiber-rich foods, the tomatoes, the onions, you will find out that they're very colorful. I remember even yesterday you said something about the greens. Yeah. And so all those colors also have a role to play in your diet. And so adding this into your diet while you are reducing the starchy ones. Yes. And we mentioned yesterday that for the refined sugars, the white sugar, we should as much as possible reduce as much as possible, should limit the consumption.
If not totally eliminate.
Yes, because I remember as I mentioned yesterday that a bottle of fizzy drinks gives you about 54 grams of sugar.
Which is
That's
alarming.
And so that's very alarming. And so it's very important that you look more towards the natural food, the all foods that haven't been processed. I know that Dr. Dolly already explained how when food goes through the processing, the nutritious part of food get removed. And so this is very important. So imagine, I like to use this example for people who drink pap.
Yes.
And so what we do on this part is when we make pap, we sieve the shaft and everything, and then we throw to the goats and all that, and then we just drink the starch.
Yeah.
And so the part that is very good for our body, which is good for the health, the gut health, like remember you mentioned also digestive system yesterday, we throw them out. And so the best is to learn ways to put all this together to make your food more nutritious while ensuring that you're going down on carb and then in totality the calories. Because what it means is that once you portion your carb, the starchy ones you're taking in, your calorie also comes down. And then you don't get to overeat. And then the fat doesn't have
you don't get to add up,
hide in your body.
Okay, fine. I like the way she summarized yesterday, gave us a brief recap, and then she dived into today's topic. Now, I'll take it from where she stopped. She mentioned something like adding fibers into your diet. When we say fibers, people are like, what is this? Now, I want to go into a step further to explain to you what this actually means, because it's what you work with. And this program right here, we are here to let you know how to take care of your billion dollar body. So what does carb do to you? I'm taking as a star example here, oatmeal. Oatmeal is a fantastic example of fiber. It's a carbohydrate fiber in you. Now, when you take oatmeal, what happens? What goes on in your body? And above all, what is the health benefit of fiber contained inside that oatmeal to your body? Now, let me take it like this. Now, they said that oatmeal is so versatile and it's so nutritionally dense that you can actually use it to do so many things. It can be used in your pancakes, yes. It can be used to bake it can be used in cookies, it can be used in smoothies. Yes, you can do that. And you can eat it alone and have breakfast with it.
People even use it to make swallows too. Swallows,
exactly, I've seen that. Yes, I've seen that. So that's a whole lot of ways you can add fibers into your food. And then let me now go ahead to explain to you what it does. Now, if you're looking to boost your fiber, at least in the morning, to 12 grams of fiber in the morning just for breakfast, do you know, half cup of oatmeal will give you that. Plus, eating foods that are high in fiber, it helps you with overall digestion. Like I said, how does it help digestion? Listen up. It helps digestion in that the fiber goes to your gut, that is the large intestine, and then it turns to food for the good bacteria inside your gut. Yes, that is it. The good bacteria inside your gut feeds on the fiber. And when it does this, it is very good for your gut health generally. And then when you have fiber in your system, it also curbs colon cancer. You find out that from the patient's history that we take when they come, anybody that has colon cancer, the first question most doctors get to ask is dietary history. What do you feed on? And when you take that history, you find out that most of them love refined carbs. They do the shawarmas, they do the cheeseburgers, they do the French fries, they do all of that, all the refined food. They can't do without cookies, pies, and all of that. So when you take those kind of food, now the good bacteria inside your gut has nothing to feed on. Nothing. There's no fiber. So everything you eat is just white, starchy sugar passing through, and there's nothing to feed on. Over time, it starts feeding on the gut, and that's how colon cancer often develops. So this should not be played with. We need fiber. We truly need fiber in our body. Now, let me continue on what it does. I've talked about fiber being food for the good bacteria inside your gut. That is number one. Number two is that it makes you feel fuller. There's this satiety when you eat fiber. If you doubt it, try a bowl of oatmeal in the morning. You see that by the time you are hungry, it will be lunchtime and you won't even know because you feel full. That's the way it is. And when you feel full longer, you eat less. And when you eat less, you don't add weight. It's as simple as that. So that is one of the things. And then when you also get fiber into your system, incorporate fiber into your food, you know that, one, you won't be consuming tons of sugar. That's what I said. You won't be consuming tons of sugar. And if you've subscribed to this program and if you have been with us from the beginning, you know what sugar does. Like we always say, sugar, what causes diabetes type 2 is increased level of blood sugar or blood glucose in the bloodstream. The bloodstream is a vessel that transports blood cells and other macromolecules in the blood. It is never a storage house. So if you're binging on all those sugary carbs, refined carbs, white carbs, and then the only thing you are trying to do, you're turning your blood vessels into a dustbin. You're turning it into a storehouse. It is there storing sugar. And that is not its work, because its work is like a channel, like a pipe that passes through, that lets blood and then nutrition pass through to every cell, tissue, and organ in the body. Now, when it does that, over time, when it happens initially, the body compensates for it. So when you're eating, say, when you hear something like this program, you'll be like, oh no, I'm okay. I've been eating it for the past 2 years. I'm good. Your body has been doing a good job compensating. Now, if you don't stop at this very moment, you don't know whether that very cheeseburger that you just ordered, it might just be one cheeseburger away from diabetes type 2. It is real. You can just be one shawarma away from diabetes. You can just be one, I don't know, all the bad foods. You can just be just one bite away from diabetes. So if you're listening, please stop. Don't overwhelm your system. Don't overload the body with white sugar. Tons of white sugar is not good for your health because it makes you come down with diabetes type 2. And like we have seen, diabetes type 2 affects the whole body from your brain to your feet. It affects everything. It affects your nerves. It affects your blood vessels, your heart, your kidney. Everywhere is affected. And overall, it lowers your immune system. That is it. So when you go buying your oatmeal, make sure that you buy oatmeal that contains less sugar. Read the label. You're the one paying for this product. Read the label is meant for you to read. Ascertain how many sugar it has. And then if you must take your oatmeal to sweeten it up, you might just go for honey instead, or maple syrup instead of going for sugar, because that's what we are trying to avoid. Another good that fibers can give you, in other words, an example of fiber is oatmeal, is you can actively live longer. Yes, you heard me right. You can. It has been proven that, okay, let me just read it. It says, oats are actually the best breakfast for longevity. I take it again. If you are listening to this program and we go through your kitchen cabinet and you don't have even a bag of oatmeal in your house, I think after this program, just rush out. Go get yourself. Yes, go get it yourself, because it's actually the best breakfast for longevity. Longevity means long life. And that's why we are here. That's why we want to open your eyes too, so that you can unlearn all the unhealthy habits that you used to have. And then the beauty of this is that oatmeal is even easy to prepare, you know? So with all these health benefits, and it's so easy to prepare, and you can actually infuse it into any type of food, it's highly recommendable. And then again, it now says that oatmeal also decreases bad cholesterol from your body. Yes, it does that. It also decreases weight gain. Of course, it's fiber. Fiber, there's no fat in fiber. So there's no weight gain if you consume oatmeal. Another thing is that it is good for the heart. Why? Because it decreases the bad cholesterol. So nothing clogs your vessels, and your heart pumps the blood freely. So it's good for the heart. Another one is that it is also good for autoimmune diseases. Now, what do I mean by autoimmune diseases? Autoimmune diseases are those diseases that affect you. Your body starts fighting some of the organs in you like it's a foreigner. Your white blood cells are the soldiers in the body. They protect your body against infections. They only arise when infection comes. But in the cases of autoimmune diseases, the white blood cell starts fighting, for instance, your liver, like he's an invader. But if you have lots of fiber in you, this can be prevented. So this is it for now. And I'll feel like I'll let you chip in.
Thank you very much. So I think I also want to take us, a bit backwards back to when we talked about the digestion. And so it's very important that we understand that the digestion of carbohydrates starts from the mouth.
That's right.
So, that's where, and that's why when you eat carbohydrate food, you find the sweetness starting from the mouth. It starts from there. And so for starch and sugars, it begins and then it proceeds down to the stomach. Yes. But what for fiber? So it's amazing that we don't have the enzymes that break down fiber in us. And so once the fiber passes through that digestion process and then goes into the large intestine, where the bacteria then feed on it. And so that's what fiber does. And so aside that it feeds the bacteria, I like the fact that you already mentioned that it also helps to keep food. And then this fiber contains a lot of nutrients. They are nutrient dense. So there's a difference between calorie dense and a food being nutrient dense.
That's right.
And so most fruits and vegetables, aside that they are low in calories, they are nutrient dense. So it means that if you have a bowl of food of food that contains more fiber in it, you're not only consuming low calories, you're doing more of nutrients also, which our
like
body,
iron,
calcium,
which our
body really
magnesium,
needs.
vitamin A, B, all of that.
Yes. And so what happens is that once you're eating too much carbohydrate than your body needs, your body stores the excess as fat.
That's right.
And that's what happens. And one of the very dangerous place to have fat is even the stomach and the abdominal fat. And I also think that's what also can affect, aside that, taking in too much sugar can affect the way your body is able to use insulin. The insulin. So it also affects the pancreas, because where you have in the stomach, you have so much fat, and you have so many organs in the stomach.
Yes. No, let me come in there. Now, when you have increased abdominal fat, what does it do? First of all, it causes the insulin. Insulin is a hormone that once you eat any starchy food, insulin comes out. What does insulin do? Because the end product of digestion of starchy foods is glucose. Your yam, rice, pasta, all of that. It breaks it down into glucose. And now, when there's so much glucose in the bloodstream, like I said earlier, that is not a storehouse. That is not what the blood vessel does. What happens is that this blood glucose in the bloodstream signals the pancreas. There's an organ in the stomach. The pancreas should be behind. Is behind this stomach. Now, when it signals is the pancreas just releases loads and loads of insulin, and then when insulin is released, what it does immediately is to go to the bloodstream and mops up the excess glucose in there and takes it into the muscle cells. So now, as I move my hands, it is the energy I got from the carbohydrate I ate. That is what is enabling this movement. Because you find out that if I'm really hungry, I'll be lethargic. I can't move because there's no energy to burn. Now, that's what insulin does. So insulin enables these muscles of mine to get the glucose and then use it. Now, coming back to the abdominal fat, when these abdominal fats are plenty, what happens is that insulin will be released from the pancreas. It can't, when it comes now to mop up the glucose from the bloodstream, it becomes insensitive. There's too much glucose, and insulin can just come and mop up like 30% and like, I'm okay, I'm done here. The body will be, no, there's still glucose. You say, but I'm not seeing it. They say, there's glucose here. They say, I can't find it. That's what it does. It becomes less sensitive to glucose. And when this happens, of course, over time, the thing that is already coming knocking is diabetes type 2 is coming, packing his load to come. And when that sets in, I know that at least anybody listening to this program, you must have seen a diabetic patient, even if he's not your friend, even if the person is not related to you. The suffering is not a joke. Some some people with diabetes type 2 will wake up in the morning and they must have insulin injections every day for the rest of their lives. Maybe because the oral hypoglycemics they're using isn't working anymore. You see? So that's why we keep hammering on this topic.
And the good news is that it can be controlled. At least once you pay attention to your diet,
it can be controlled. Yes. You see, I know I have some patients who are so good at controlling their blood sugar that you don't know that anything is wrong with them. Yes.
And the moment you start paying attention to your diet, you find out that gradually, if you're on the oral drugs, it gradually gets reduced because your doctor would notice that your body is beginning to pick up very well. And so over time, you can even get off this drug. And there's something we call remission, where your blood sugar goes back to the normal level, even though you have been a diabetic patient before, and then it goes back to the normal level. So that's very important. I also want to say, because so that our viewers would not think that it's just oatmeal.
I use this as an example of a fiber.
So there are other meals also. And so
I'll take another example.
Yes, I think I mentioned this yesterday also, that as oatmeal is very rich in fiber, but it also contains starch. And that's why even if you're doing oatmeal, you have to pay attention to your portion size. You must not say that, oh, this is fiber, and then you start.
One bowl. I said one bowl. Don't go and finish the whole pack of oatmeal and say, Dr. D said. No, I didn't say that.
People would do granola. You have oats in granola.
I know.
And so granola has so many other things in it. And people just pay attention to, oh, this is oat. I can just, and then if you see people, a pack of granola in a day can just disappear into the
No.
So the portion size is still there.
Portion control.
Very important. It's very important. And most food that also high in fiber also still contain starch. And this is why we need to really pay attention. And one way I mentioned yesterday is also to invest in your own nutrition knowledge, where you get to know, okay, what food are high in fiber, but then still low in starch or in calories, so that you can get to have more of this in your diet. So it's very, very important. Yes.
Okay, so fine. For me today is about the food is about the menu thing. Now I've given you an example of like I said in the beginning, I'm still saying it. Starch is a group of food that is made up of carbohydrates. I mean to say it's a group of food that is made up of starch, fiber, and sugar. Now, I've given you an example of fiber. A very good way to incorporate it into your diet is breakfast in the morning. And please, I am still saying it. If you still want to be healthy, maintain a healthy lifestyle, just know that the most important meal in a day is breakfast. You have to do breakfast. So doing breakfast right, that is just what I just explained. You can do a good breakfast with oats. That's an example. With that way, you have given your body high fiber. And then the oats, you don't just do oats. You can add your berries, you can add bananas, you can add your chia seeds, you can add nuts, cashew nuts, and all of that. It makes it even more nutritious and more palatable. Another one now, let's go maybe to lunch. Now, what example do I have for lunch? Let's just say that we do
let's do swallow.
Swallow? No, I'm not doing swallow. I'm not doing swallow. Let's just do maybe like pasta.
All right.
Yes, let me just do like, you know why I don't want to do swallow? People who are working, usually afternoons. I mean, if you're in the office, you don't get.
So it depends on the kind of job you do, really. Yes. It depends on the kind of job you do. Because if you are doing the kind of job that needs so much energy, then you can, and so like I said, portion size is very important. If you do pasta and you do a big bowl, the same thing would happen to you.
See, every carbohydrate needs to be regulated, the portion, because invariably starch contains energy, and the energy, if it's too much, you store it as fat. So portion control should be maintained for every kind of food anyway, not just carbohydrates, not just carbs, even proteins, because if you do too much of proteins, you come down with kidney problems, vitamins and all of that. They are all to be controlled.
Moderation is very key.
Moderation is the key. Actually, moderation is the key to longevity. Yeah, I think we'll choose that as a topic and do it. Moderation, the key to longevity. I like the sound of that. Okay, let me just do pasta. I'm not doing eba, not because it's not good or but the only thing I'm not doing eba is that I didn't speak it. I didn't prepare on that.
Okay,
yes, I didn't prepare on that. So let me just do the one I prepared. Now, what happens to your body when you eat pasta? Now, the pasta I recommend is the whole grain pasta. when you buy your pasta, please make sure that you know that this is whole grain I'm buying. Read the stuff very, very well and know that this is a whole grain that you're buying. And then this is what happens to your body when you get a meal of pasta in the afternoon. Please, by all means, control the portion. First of all, it gives you a solid dose of energy. You know, it's an afternoon food. And probably most people I know work in the afternoon, unless for the CEOs who are constantly on vacation. But if you're not, then you need the energy that the carbohydrate provides in the afternoon when you're working. So now, because pasta contains what we call a complex healthy carbohydrate, it is a source of complex healthy carbohydrate, which is so good. And then when the carbohydrates, you break it down to glucose. When this glucose enters into the bloodstream, we use it to manufacture a form of energy called ATP. And that is how it gives you the energy boost. Another thing that happens to you when you have a meal of pasta, whole grain pasta, please, is fine. You will have what we call, you'll be happy. It gives you a boost in your mood. How does it do that? Fine. Let's see how it does that. Now, complex carbohydrates, it stimulates your brain production of a hormone we call serotonin. Just listen, serotonin is a happy hormone. Happy, very happy. When you have it in your, if they check your bloodstream and they can extract serotonin, which means you're a happy person. Always happy. Now, serotonin is a good, feel-good hormone. That's what we call it. And a meal of carbohydrates, starch, it brings it out. And so now, serotonin is a natural mood stabilizer. If you were unhappy before you ate that food, you'll be happy. And I found out something. Most of the time, I'll be in the office around noon. You see all your colleagues, they are bickering, but they'll just go to the kitchen and eat. Once they are coming out, once the door opens, one thing I notice is I don't even see the door open, but I hear the sounds of laughter. So that is it. You take these things for granted, but it's real. The serotonin must have been pumping in their bloodstreams. After meal, they are happy, they are cracking jokes, and that is what it does for you. So for those people who are saying, I'm dieting, you are depriving yourself of good dose of serotonin in your blood. There is this story I read somewhere in the internet that a boy who has been placing himself on a diet, no carb at all, since he was like 14, he got to 18 years and he committed suicide. And when I read it, I didn't wonder so much because I know why. When you don't have serotonin in you, there's no joy in you. You can have that shape you want and everything, but you're not happy. I don't think
life is not about the shape.
No, life is much more than that. And then these things in nature are provided there for us for a reason.
I remember we said yesterday when we talked about the self-esteem issues.
That's right.
It's not. Of course, if you're obese, you're overweight, you understand you need, for health reasons, you need to cut down the excess weight. But then we said if you are not your body, you're not your body. And I also want to mention, because we talked about the meals now, where we're talking about the meals. And so it's also very important to know that because a food can be high in fiber and still has a lot of, starch in it.
That's right.
So I remember, I think what we're discussing is the bread, for example. So when you have whole wheat bread and then you have the white bread.
Yes.
Of course, whole wheat bread, because it has the whole grain still intact, it has more fiber. But if you look at the carbohydrate, the general carbohydrate, total carbohydrate content of whole wheat and then the white bread, they're almost just a little different.
Wow.
And that's why the portion size is very important. And what is highly recommended is that if you have a plate, in your plate of meal, divide it into half. Half of your plate should contain more of the vegetables, the high fiber, low starch, non-starchy vegetables.
Please, could you run that through again?
A plate, your plate of meal, divide into half. It's very critical. Just divide into half. One part of it should contain the non-starchy vegetables, where you have the greens, your broccoli, your cabbage, all that. While the other half you divide into two.
Yeah.
And so half of it goes for the starchy carbs.
That's right.
And then the other goes for protein.
Wow.
And so we know that fats, you find fat also in most of the proteinous food that we have, and even sometimes in the carbs that we have. And so that way you get to consume more non-starchy vegetables and fruits also as a major part of your meal. So that's what's best for the body. And so that way you don't even need, if you can't it's so easy, because some people find it hard to start counting calories and all that. So easily just get your plate and use a small plate. Don't go for the big plate. That's one of the ways you can get to control your portion size, using a small plate and then dividing that plate into, let me just go right again, dividing it into two. A part should be more of your non-starchy vegetables. We're talking about the leafy vegetables, your the broccoli, the lettuce, the cabbage. You can even cucumber, yes, and all that. And so imagine it you're eating. So let me even go more practical. Imagine you're going for yam. Okay. So let me do yam now. No, and so you're watching the portion size. Yeah. Garden egg, for example, people make sauce with garden egg. Yeah. And garden egg is vegetable.
I recently discovered that.
And garden egg is vegetable. So imagine you doing that in a bulk. Yeah. And so you can get to consume that, depending that you don't use too much oil to prepare your, I think we mentioned that also, your sauce. So sometimes the problem is that you are eating the vegetables, but then in preparing those vegetables, you're using too much fat to prepare them. So you find some vegetable soup and then you see oil swimming on them.
That's where the sponsors of this show come in. That's where we recommend Salad Master cooking utensils. That way it just reduces the amount of oil, because with Salad Master cookware you can cook with little or no oil, and still the food comes out very good, very palatable, and very healthy.
Yeah, because some of this food contains their own, or they contain the oil in them already. So what Salad Master does is to cook with the oil.
So you don't need to even add, you don't need to add external oil.
So it's very food. So I was talking about the whole wheat and the white bread. So whole wheat contains more fiber.
That's right.
But when you look at the total carb content, they're almost the same. So it's very, very important. You don't say, oh, because this is whole grain, and then just consume without paying attention to the portion. And especially when you have, maybe you've been diagnosed with diabetes, or maybe, you're obese, you're overweight, you're trying to lose your weight. And this is why it's also very important to work with professionals that can guide you on how you can plan, know what calories you should even take in the first place.
That's right.
And so, except maybe you don't have, even if you don't have any health condition, the best is for you to eat the right way so that you can prevent those conditions. But once you then have hypertension, you have diabetes, you have high cholesterol level, your diet can also be used to improve these conditions. Yes, and this is why it's important that you talk to your doctor. Your doctor can refer you to a dietitian or a nutritionist to guide you on how best you can make your food more healthy. And with Salad Master, you can get to cook these meals.
And you get, with Salad Master cooking, where you get everything. Yes. You get to have a healthy food, you get to have an oil-free food, and you get to have a very tasty meal.
Yeah, and the delicious salads.
Oh my God, very easy to make. Half amount of the time you would have used. So it's a win-win any way you look at it. Okay, so I was still talking about pasta. I'm not done yet though. I'm not done yet with that pasta, because you know why? I told you that it's a mood, it's a good feel. It releases serotonin called the good feel good hormone. Now, serotonin don't just also make you feel good. It also aids in wound healing. Yeah, and it also aids in bone health. So if you see this person, you see a young girl, 15 years, my bone is paining. For what now? What have you been eating? And how have you been eating it? So these are the roles that diets play. Another one in this, when you eat starchy carbohydrate, example, pasta. I'm not saying it's the only one. I'm just, because in this starchy carbohydrate, there's rice there, there's yam there, there's potatoes there, there are corn there, there are plantain there. There are so many. This is just my star meal. Star meal I'm giving as example, but you can actually know that what this one contains, others contain as well. Now, when you eat a starchy meal, now what it does for you is that it makes you feel full. Like what she said with the with bread and then the white bread. Now let me break it down for you. This is the wheat. This right hand is the wheat bread, and this left hand, and this is the right hand, the wheat bread, and this left is the white bread. Okay, this is the refined bread. So refined bread, so that people understand. Yes. Now the whole grain here, if they are the same amounts, They are the same quantity, so they contain exactly the same amount of carbohydrates
Almost
in them,
the same.
or mostly the same. Now, what happens with the whole wheat bread is that it contains carbohydrate 1 plus fiber plus other nutrients, vitamins and mineral it contains, while the white bread contains basically just starch and sugar to make it palatable to you. Now, what happens? What happens is that because the fiber has been removed, you can finish the whole of the white bread and you won't feel satisfied because there's no fiber there. So this is an advantage to those people, the manufacturers or the makers. Why? Because it is what we call they're selling you come again. You finish the whole bread tomorrow morning. Oh my God, you come to buy food. So it's very good for the people who manufacture or who makes them. But this whole grain bread, that is the brown one, it is so filling. You find out that I don't know about any other person, but for me, it stays so long that in order not to allow it spoil, you can actually do some things to make it stay longer, to make it fresh longer, because it doesn't like finish. And then it's not as sweet as this one, so it doesn't want to make you finish even 3 slices. You're good, which is good for your weight, which is good for your health. And because now I see that people now take it for granted because this is whole wheat. Oh yeah, doctor said it's healthy. You now go for one breakfast, you finish the whole loaf. You will still add weight though. Yes. You will add weight because the carbohydrate level is the same. What we are just trying to tell you is that this one will prevent you from eating more. It's healthier because it contains other micronutrients that your body needs. And it also stays longer in your guts. That's basically it. So portion control for carbohydrates is very
I also want to add that for the whole wheat products, for example, sometimes we have, this is why it's very important that you have to just read the nutrition label.
That's right.
Because we have some whole wheat product that still has a lot of added sugar.
That's right. Of course.
Even the bread we're talking about.
It has to be appealing to the buyer.
Yes, so you need to pay attention to that when you're buying it. You can't just, nutrition label is very important. I keep saying this because sometimes it's just like someone who has hypertension and then you didn't bother checking the nutrition label, and then the products you're buying contains so much sodium. And then because you haven't checked, you consume it.
Sodium, in this case, is salt, and too much salt will predispose you to hypertension.
It would even worsen the condition, and so it can't just, it's just the best. Make it a part of you to always
read,
check,
take your time. It's not usually advised for you to do your shopping when you're in a hurry. Don't do that. Create days and time for shopping. Go through the nutrition list and label. It's there for you, so that you go for exactly what you want at every particular time.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, like I said too, when you are eating starchy food, what it does is that it feeds the good bacteria in your system, like I always said, and it is very, very important. Another one is that when you eat this starchy foods, it's just not just starch. There's always impregnation of vitamins and minerals, like we always say. So this is the whole lot that you're getting if you have a starch for a meal. And then, like she said, when you're having this kind of pasta or yam or rice or potato or all of that, use the plate, divide it into half. Use, like she recommended, use this other half for your proteins, so your vitamins and everything, so that way each meal becomes a very good meal for you, becomes really balanced for your health. Because if you're eating balanced diet in every meal, every day, for every year, over time, of course, you'll be healthy. You'll be healthy. There's no gainsaying that.
And I want to ask, I like the fact that you mentioned a 15-year-old child, maybe you say in my body. And I also, this is more like trying to also encourage parents to teach their kids, or maybe like guide them to also, to embrace or adopt healthy nutrition at the early start.
That's right.
Some of the conditions we're talking about, the diabetes, the hypertension, sometimes the foundation is laid from when these kids are very young.
I recommend people or parents who are watching this to go watch what we did when we did childhood obesity, where we recommended for the patient for the parents to feed their child fit and not fat. That's a very interesting topic, I tell you to look it up.
Because
It's
many
very
times
interesting
the kid is from the tender age, and so unfortunate that you can't even force children. I remember meeting a client one time, and she was trying to make her kids to eat fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, when they were younger, she didn't even introduce them. It was because so later on, she also understood the benefit of this. And so there's different ways you can even get your kids involved so that they can learn how best to, to adopt this healthy eating and also be able to eat fruits and vegetables. And I also want to mention that one of the ways you can get to increase your intake of fiber is what is recommended is that you take about 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day.
That's
and so
right.
What is
that's
this?
WHO recommendation,
yes, thank
by
you.
the way.
And what's a serving? So you have this medium apple, the green apple, the English apple. That's just like 1 7, the medium size that goes for about 100 naira.
So you want to? So they should take it like 7 times a day.
So that 4 to 5 times. So imagine if you've had breakfast, and so in between breakfast and lunch you're doing one.
So you're snacking with fruits.
Fruits rather than do the
the biscuits,
drinks,
the
and
cookies,
yes, so you
the
do that.
shawarmas, and there's this street food that is like raining now. Small chops now.
Yes. In fact, they even sell it in traffic.
Oh my God! And the way they package the stuff,
very nice.
They'll put this one, put a little of samosa, put a little of buns, put a little. That kind of food, man. Even now that I'm talking about it, if you get it down with Coke, oh my God!
So it's about finding creative ways to have this fiber. I do this example also. Imagine frying an egg. You want to, maybe that's what you want to do with your yam or your bread. And so rather than do like 3, 4 eggs, frying all that just to eat a small portion of yam, the moment you fry just 1 egg, and then you had your tomatoes, you had your basil leaves, you had your onions.
Spinach.
At the end of the day, the bulk is much.
You have your carrots.
And you've added so much vegetables into that same meal. With high fiber.
With fiber in it.
With fiber in it. And you're enjoying. Yes. And you'll be full.
2 o'clock, you don't feel like having lunch. 3, that's the truth.
And so before the lunch, you're doing a fruit in between.
That is it.
And your lunch comes when you're doing, let me use the pasta again, your pasta and maybe steamed greens, beside it, and then the fish sauce.
Or you can just do sweet potatoes.
Yes. That's another, doing that with vegetables. And then in between, before your dinner, you have another fruit. And so at the end of the day, you'll be able to achieve 4 to 5. A lot of people think it's a difficult thing to achieve, but the moment you put your mind into it, sometimes you even do more than that already. But it's about being more intentional
about it. Like someone, I know, like personally, what I do to meet up with that WHO standard is in the morning, all the portions of fruits, all those 5 servings and everything that I will take. I cannot come and be chewing all those ones in front of patients. What do? I put everything into the blender, blend it and put it in a bottle, and then I sip it all day long. That's one way to do it. But then for someone who is trying to lose weight, I always try to also caution. Sometimes people put in so much. Or maybe we also have some fruits that are a bit calorie dense, like banana. And then you find somebody doing banana and avocado, which are which are healthy. But because your health goal is weight loss, and then you're consuming more in your smoothies. Yes, so we need to be very careful. So you guys heard
it's important you can get to blend your fruits. Sometimes it's just taking it in a different way. Variety is the spice of life. So you can get to do that, but be careful. And that's why you just need to know what your food contains so that you know how best to combine to get the benefit.
Okay, so I believe that we have really dealt with this topic. Because all the time when we talk about carbs, we take it like up there. We don't really go down. But for today, we brought out some very food examples that you can do for breakfast. And we examined it all, what it can do to you if you eat it. We took out the one for that one being maybe oatmeal that is so much, contains fiber, and then pasta or yam or rice, when you take it in the afternoon, what it does to the body. And then we are now went ahead to tell you how to even combine it and introduce other food types so that the diet will be balanced. And I believe that we have done justice to this. But if you have any suggestions, questions, or concerns, we are ever willing to tackle the problem. So if you have your questions, because I know that we didn't get the chance to ask questions yesterday, we're open to that today, to ask your questions. So in conclusion today, I want to tell people again that refined carbs may increase your number one, blood fats and oil, which is not good because it can give you heart problems. Another one, it can increase or spike rise your blood sugar levels, predisposing you to diabetes type 2. And another one is that diabetes type 2 and insulin resistance. Another is that it is major risk factor for heart problems, for diabetes type 2, like I said, for strokes, for obesity, the problems that comes with it are so much. And then on its own now, it has been found out recently that too much refined carbohydrates predisposes you to have infertility problems. So these are the myriad of problems that can arise if only you will control, or if you will control just your carbohydrate intake, you will avoid all these problems. So here in this program, we're here to let you know those things that are silent that you do unknowingly that can predispose you to health hazard later in future. And then, I remember us saying yesterday, we pointed out that there are some also hidden sugars in so many products that we buy. Take, for instance, toothpaste. There are so many sugars because every toothpaste that I know,
Ketchup also has.
Ketchup, mayonnaise, all those salad toppings, you think, okay, I'm eating salad. I'm just, okay, no refined sugar. But when you want to put all those dressings on your salad, that's where they hide all those sugars. So it is advised you make your own toppings, you'll make your own salad dressings with olive oil and all of that.
Lemon.
Yes, with lemon. There are so many ways to make sure that you continue eating healthy. So the purpose of this particular topic is not to scare you away from carbs or carbohydrates, but to let you know there's always a healthier way to go about eating carbs.
It's smarter way to do that. And on the fertility issue, although the research is also still new and still ongoing,
yeah.
I remember that it's also said that it can when you take all this refined carb, it can cause what's it called, it change your genetics and then you pass it across your kids. So it's not only affecting you as a person,
the next generation.
Generation also.
So we should really be careful.
We need to be very, very, very careful about that. Yes, very important. And I think I just want to also have that. Sometimes people think it's hard to. So now, what do I want to eat? We've been saying it, but it's easy. Just go for the whole grain options.
That's right.
The whole grain options, and I think I still want to go back to swallow because I know that I have met people who, although they are the basic type, but then they're not just for pastas. But I spoke to somebody recently. Please, I don't do pastas. I don't like it. There are people like that, and I like to say this way. Usually what we do is that when we eat the swallow, so let me use amala for example, or maybe eba. What we do is that we do the swallow, and then we do the swallow is the bigger portion, and then we do the vegetable soup as the smaller. So we're eating eba and vegetable soup. Ooh. And so a better way to do it is to do vegetable soup and eba. Vegetable soup is the larger portion. That's the vegetables that you're consuming, while your eba or your whichever swallow you're taking is a smaller portion.
Yes.
So that way you're doing eba and you're doing vegetable and eba, not eba and vegetable soup.
Yes.
So that way you get to take in more vegetables. And another reason why we say why people are so scared of carbs, and carb is not the only victim here really, because if you look at your potato chips, the potatoes are carbs, right?
Yes.
But then you're frying with oil. So what we eat, or what we combine with the carbs also put,
in a more risky,
so we need to be very, very, very careful.
Yes. And then, since you want to talk about the EBA, let's talk about
so now you want to do
let's talk about the EBA. Now, there are smarter ways, of course, to do that. Apart from controlling the portion of your swallow, you can also do your EBA with oatmeal, like we said. You can also do it with dry plantain. Those are less dense carbohydrates. You can also do it with I've seen people do with
potato. They have potato flour.
Yes, potato. Yeah, tiger nuts. Tiger nuts is beautiful.
But like I mentioned earlier, they still contain a lot of calories, and so portion size is very, very, very important.
Like we know, for there to be what is it called? Carbohydrate contained in vegetables is virtually everywhere. So the main thing is still moderation in everything.
Yes, moderation. Moderation is the key.
Yeah.
You said some moderation is the key to longevity.
Yes, the key to longevity.
So we cannot, so
overemphasize.
We're not scaring away from carbs. We're only saying that there are smarter ways to eat the carbs to improve your health and to get the best out of your life.
And prevent diseases.
And protect your billion-dollar body.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Okay. Hello, Mr. Marvel. Hello?
Hey, hi. Wow. The information today has been so much so that we probably do not want this show to stop. The combination of a doctor and a dietitian on set, oh my goodness. I'm telling you, I've been blown away today with the accuracy with which you have dealt with the issue today. Thank you very much, both of you. You've done an amazing job. And also all the people who are watching today are saying thank you very much. We have just a couple of questions which I will take right now on YouTube. We have some questions on YouTube at the moment. Someone is asking about Salad Master 316 Titanium. And he's saying, how is Salad Master able to turn alkaline water in acidic water, I beg your pardon, into alkaline water, since the interior actually resists chemical reactions with acids and enzymes? Now, I'll probably want to throw some light on that and answer that. But the one I want you to deal with, Dr. Dolly and the dietitian in the studio, is someone is asking about diabetes. He says some people who are diabetic develop sores in their bodies, while some do not. Now, how can you explain this mystery? Some people develop sores, some people who are diabetic, and some people do not. So how can you explain this mystery? I'll just tie up another question so that you answer both of them together. Now, someone is asking as well, when you take too much sugar, does it make you urinate often? So those are two questions I probably want you to deal with. Then I would probably come on and talk about the titanium 316 today. Okay, over to you now.
Okay, fine. Thank you for the questions. They are very intellectual questions, and we're happy to help as much as we can. Now, taking the first question that says, in diabetes, some people develop sores while others do not. How does it happen? Fine. It's not rocket science. It's actually very easy. What diabetes does actually, like I said, is what? Diabetes occurs in the blood vessels. And what happens when there's so much sugar or glucose in the bloodstream, which means that there's lack of insulin, or when it is released, it is not sensitive enough to the glucose to want to transport them into the muscle cells where it will be made use of, because you can't use the blood sugar inside the bloodstream. Now, because the bloodstream now, in the case of a diabetic patient, is now the storehouse for sugar, which is not supposed to be. It is supposed to be digest all the food then bring the end products into the blood. And then when it gets into the blood, insulin takes it right out to the blood, to the tissues that need to make use of the sugar. But in this case, it is piled up in the blood. So already the blood vessel is sick. And what happens is that once it gets down to, usually the sores start at the feet. What happens is that this feet now, it is blocked, because there's so much molecules inside the blood vessel. It's no more a free flowing channel for blood and nutrition. So it is packed there. Now, also everything on that feet, or the distal part of that feet, including the muscles, the nerves of that person who has diabetes, and the surrounding area there is not supplied adequately by blood and nutrition. So what happens? This person now is a risk. So what we do for patients like this is they start manifesting. They tell you, doctor, when I walk on ground, it's like I'm walking on cotton wools. There's pin and needle sensation to my feet. When you hear it, you now, because diabetic patients, we teach them on the care of the feet. So what you now tell them is, be very careful the kind of shoe you wear, the kind of places you step on, because why? The nerves there are dead. They can't be sensitive again. So now, because the blood vessels there are no longer supplying blood to that area, so it supplies them enough not to decay. But now that person that has diabetes, you now try to tell them, if they hit their feet on a doorknob or a chair against anything, they don't know, they don't feel it. It's only when they start bleeding that people will be telling them, say, oh. So now when such a thing happens, that small, it can be, some of them, it can be pin. When that pin pricks them on that feet that has a blocked channels, blood vessels and nerves, they don't feel it, number one. They start having abnormal sensations, maybe hotness, and then it doesn't go. It starts developing from sore. From that pin, it can be a big sore. And usually, if you see those kind of sores, they are black. We call them gangrenous, black gangrene. They'll be dripping water. It doesn't heal, because what brings about healing is blood. Once blood, any part of your body is well vascularized, blood is getting there, healing takes place fast. Just talk of scalp pain. If you have any cuts on the head, it bleeds a whole lot. That bleeding, if you can be able to stop it, it heals fast, because once blood is coming, nutrition is coming, and then it heals. But in case of diabetes, because the blood vessels around there is sick, that person develops this sore. So now the person who has diabetes that does not develop this sore is the person who has been educated well enough to know that you don't go about throwing your feet anyhow as a diabetic patient. You can hit your feet anywhere, or you can come in contact with a pin or even razor or anything. So those people who avoid injuries in diabetes don't come up with sores. But if you have a long-standing diabetes and you develop any kind of injury on your leg or hands, it doesn't go. And that is how sore comes. And from there, it can lead to limb amputation, cutting it off completely. That is how diabetes does. I hope I've answered this question. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is why it's also very important that you get to do the diabetes test regularly, right. Because for some people,
they don't know.
They don't even know. It's until they have that son gets to the hospital before they say, oh, this is what is wrong with you. And I also just want to touch on the urine aspect, that for people who are also diabetic, that's one of the ways you get to find out that they are diabetic through their urine, where you find that when they pee, you see insects going around, because the sugar leaks into the process of the urine production, and then it gets into the urine.
If I get the question correctly, it says, does taking sugar too much cause you to pee a lot? No, it doesn't. It can only do that when you have already developed diabetes. Now, you taking sugar has nothing to do with your urine production, but rather taking too much of water can cause increased urine production. But you can start peeing too much if the sugar you have been taking over time has developed into diabetes.
And that's one of the symptoms that some people have diabetes, when they find themselves going to
it's not toilet. Even one, it must be there.
Yes.
If you are diagnosed of having diabetes, that is one of it.
So that's one of the symptoms that you
that's
find.
One of the symptoms.
Okay. Wow. This is amazing. I must say that I just feel like coming in the studio right now to just sit and take my notes and start writing till tomorrow, because the information you guys are giving is why this show is organized. And I want to say to everyone watching today, if you do have your friends who probably have issues with some of the topics surrounding what they have spoken about today, and they couldn't watch the live session, you could send them the link and they could watch the recorded version. Now, someone asked a question about titanium 316 turning acidic water to alkaline. Now, what I would say is, I want to first thank Salad Master for sponsoring your $1 billion body. And of course, the 316 titanium resists the chemical reactions with the acids and enzymes in the food. Now, that makes it impossible for acidic foods like tomatoes not to react with the pan, unlike it does from other saucepans. When those acidic foods with the saucepans, what happens is the saucepans could leach and heavy metals could bleed out and go into the body and stores and could cause several problems. So what titanium does, the titanium ensures that your food is pure. That's why doctors could use it for surgical implants. And Dr. Dolly and the dietitian there probably can attest to this as well. So what it does is it ensures that your food is protected, no toxins. When you cook in 316 titanium, the food is pure, and when it goes in your body, you know you're eating pure food. That's why one of the first things is that it ensures that your food is pure. It maintains the purity, the quality, and the flavor of your food. So Salad Master 316 titanium is alkaline cooking. Your food also could be alkaline as well as the water. So I believe I've answered that question asked on titanium 316 cooking system. Thank you very much, everyone, for asking. We have lots of questions which probably time would not permit us to take. But if you do have questions unanswered, please kindly send a message in, and Dr. Dolly and the dietitian will privately contact you and answer that question. And by the way, we have another session coming up 2 weeks time, and I know the topic will be out shortly. Now, from me tonight, I want to say thank you everyone for joining the show. We don't have any further questions. I'll just hand it back in the studio for Dr. Dolly and the dietitian to round up. Over to you now, guys. Thank you very much. It's been an awesome time with you tonight. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Marvel. Okay, and from us in the studio here, it's a wrap. We're happy to come to the end of today's program. And we indulge you also to tune in next 2 weeks for another interesting and insightful episode. So remember that taking care of your billion-dollar body is of premium importance because it is the only vehicle that takes you through life. Till the next time we see, keep being healthy.
All right, thank you so much. And so do have a pleasant weekend filled with fruits and vegetables.
Oh my God. Bye.